What if we told you there's something you might be completely addicted to, without even knowing it?
Hmm.
And it's not coffee or, scrolling social media or even late night snacks.
Right.
No, we're talking about something way more fundamental.
Yeah.
You might actually be addicted to thought.
Addicted to thought. It sounds strange, but yeah.
It does. It reminds me of that Robert Palmer song,
Yeah.
Addicted to Love. That line, your lights are on, but no one's home. Your mind is not your own.
That actually captures it pretty
It
well.
really feels like it gets to the heart of what we're exploring today.
It does. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to unpack why our relationship with our own thoughts can feel like an addiction. And maybe more importantly, how we can start to, break free.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
journey into the surprising mechanics of your own mind.
That sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And for this deep dive, our source material is this really profound YouTube channel called Mastering Thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about helping you understand and, well, actually rewire your brain for a steadier, more fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's really practical stuff.
Totally. And the brilliant minds behind Mastering Thought are Mark Waller. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist, got over 25 years experience, helped thousands of people.
Wow.
And Kristina Black. She's a cranial sacral and massage therapist, and she brings this amazing physical body perspective into understanding the mind.
That integration is so important.
It really is. They've got some incredible insights we're about to explore, so let's just jump right in.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. How does this inner voice even get started? Mark and Christina often point back to two giants in developmental psychology.
Right.
Jean Piaget, he was a Swiss biologist, and Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist. And what's really amazing is they were born the same year, and they both observed pretty similar things in kids.
That's wild. Two different places, same observation.
Exactly. It laid the groundwork for how we understand our internal dialogue today.
Okay, so that's a great place to start. What exactly did Piaget notice? What was this early communication like?
Well, Piaget, he called it egocentric speech. So picture a little kid, maybe 2, 3 years old, playing right.
Yeah.
They might be talking out loud, saying stuff like, the red block goes here. No, wait, the green one? Yeah, green. They're talking to themselves about themselves and what they're doing.
Okay.
And crucially, they don't expect anyone else to hear or, respond. It's like their thoughts are just spilling out.
I can totally picture that. My nephew does that sometimes when he's really focused on, building Legos.
Exactly.
If I answer him, he looks startled, like, oh, you heard that?
Right. And Vygotsky, pretty much at the same time, saw something very similar. He called it private speech.
Private speech, okay.
Now, Piaget's term egocentric speech got more famous, especially in the West. But fundamentally, they both understood this was an early kind of externalized way kids communicate with themselves.
So they're talking out loud. But obviously, as adults, most of us have that voice inside, not usually outside. When does that shift happen?
That's where it gets really interesting. Both Piaget and Vygotsky noticed that around, say, 5 to 7 years old, this talking out loud just seems to vanish.
Vanish.
Well, Piaget thought it just got extinguished. Maybe, neurological development made it unnecessary.
But that doesn't quite feel right, does it? Because we do have that inner voice.
Exactly. And that's where Vygotsky's idea really resonates more, I think. He proposed it didn't disappear at all.
Okay.
It just went inside. It became inner speech.
Okay. That makes so much more sense with our actual experience as adults. We all have that chatter going on internally.
Precisely. And here's a really critical point both of them noted. Kids use this egocentric or private speech more when they were stressed or, facing a difficult task.
Oh, interesting. So what does that tell us about why it exists in the first place?
It points straight to its core function.
Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism. It's for self-regulation.
Self-regulate.
Yeah, the kids are literally trying to manage their emotions, calm themselves down, or figure things out by talking themselves through it.
Wow.
So that's the big takeaway here. Humans use inner speech to regulate emotions. It's fundamental to how we cope.
Okay, so this inner speech forms early, 5 to 7, becomes our default narrator. How does the brain actually use it once it's there?
Right. So once it forms, it definitely becomes the brain's go-to narrator. It's that voice running in the background, kind of constantly shaping how we see things. And this internal monologue, it involves key brain areas tied to our emotions. Think the limbic system, the amygdala, which is your fight or flight center.
Like the primitive stuff.
Yeah, and even the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC, which is where suffering is kind of measured or processed.
Okay, so it's deeply tied into our emotional experience, and this connects to the idea of me, right? That sense of self that develops early on.
Absolutely. It's tightly interwoven. The me concept, that sense of I, is largely handled by the medial prefrontal cortex. And that's a big part of what neuroscientists call the default mode network, or DMN.
The DMN, I've heard of that. That's like the brain's background processing.
Exactly. It's what's active when you're not focused on some specific outside task. It does self-reflection, daydreaming, planning. So when you think, I'm having such a bad day.
Yeah.
That's the me concept in action. You're self-referencing, making meaning out of what you're observing internally. And this me develops pretty early, way before our teens usually.
Got it. So we had this very active, early developing inner narrator, the me. But then Mark and Kristina introduced this really crucial distinction, the meta self. What's that? And where does it live in the brain?
Right, the meta self, this is different. It's primarily located in another brain area, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or DLPFC.
Okay, DLPFC. And what makes it meta?
What's fascinating and sort of mind-bending is that the meta self is the part that lets us become aware that we are aware of ourselves.
Aware that we're aware.
Okay.
Unpack that a bit.
So think about the difference. I'm having a bad day. That's the narrator, the me, the DMN churning away.
Right.
But thinking, I observe myself thinking I'm having a bad day. That observation, that stepping back, that's the meta self, the DLPFC kicking in. It's a higher level of awareness. It's the observer of the self.
Wow. Okay. That's a subtle, but yeah, really powerful difference. An observer distinct from the thoughts.
Exactly.
So if we have this higher level observer capacity, when does that part fully develop? Because this is the bombshell, right?
This is the absolute kicker. Mark and Kristina emphasize the startling fact. The dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex, the seat of this meta self, isn't fully developed until you're about 25 to 30 years old.
25 to 30?
Yeah. Sometimes even a bit later for some people.
So wait, what does that mean for us? We live for decades, essentially, without that fully developed capacity to just observe our thoughts.
That's precisely why we feel so, addicted to our thoughts. Think about it. For 2 decades, maybe more, this inner narrator, this me, has been running the show, talking constantly, creating our sense of who we are. But for most of that time, we lacked the fully mature brain hardware, that meta self in the DLPFC, to step back and see it as just thoughts, as separate from us.
So by the time the observer function fully comes online?
By the time it's fully operational, we've already spent years and years completely identifying with that inner voice, believing on a deep level that the voice is who we are.
So it's not like a personal failing or being weak-willed. It's literally how our brains develop. We're kind of set up for this.
Exactly. Mark Waller calls the narrator the best con man there is. And it's not meant judgmentally. It's a biological reality, a sort of mechanical process based on developmental timelines.
Wow.
We've mistakenly given this voice, this narrator, total authority over us simply because our brain wasn't fully equipped yet to see it any other way.
And that explains so much about why we struggle with emotions, right? We've handed over the reins to this narrator.
Completely. As Kristina Black puts it so powerfully, and this is key, you are not the voice in your head.
You are not the voice in your head.
But until you really learn that, you're caught. Because that voice, that narrator, it comes with this built-in sense of me from way back in childhood.
Right. And our whole lives are shaped by what we believe. And the default belief, just because of brain development, is that the chatter is us.
Precisely.
Okay. So if our default setting biologically is to be kind of addicted to thought, identified with this narrator, what can we actually do about it? How do we start to break free, to disidentify?
Well, this brings us straight to the solution, and it's a really powerful, practical approach developed by Mark Waller and Kristina Black themselves. They call it moment mindfulness.
Moment mindfulness, okay.
Or sometimes they just call it thoughting. It's simple terminology for a profound practice. And this is exactly what their YouTube channel, Mastering Thought, is all about teaching.
And their online community too, right? Thought Masters.
Exactly, yeah. Their channel and the Thought Masters community are dedicated to helping people learn and apply this.
So what's the core idea behind moment mindfulness? How does it work?
The core principle is grounded in that fundamental understanding we just discussed. You are not the voice in your head.
Right.
And the exercise itself is surprisingly simple, really actionable. You just sit, eyes open is fine, and you wait for the next thought to pop up.
Any thought.
Well, they recommend starting with an everyday, non-emotional thought, something really mundane,
Like what?
like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store later, or my hair feels messy, something simple, not charged with emotion.
Okay, so find a neutral, everyday thought. Then what?
Then the key is simply to observe it. Just notice it. Don't engage with it. Don't judge it. Don't follow it down a rabbit hole. Just observe.
Just watch it arise.
Yeah.
And there's some cool neuroscience behind why just observing it is so powerful, isn't there?
Absolutely. The magic happens in that active observation. Remember the meta-self, the observer in the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, the DLPFC.
Okay, so when that observer part of your brain focuses its attention on a thought that's bubbling up from the default mode network, the narrator's home base,
Uh-huh.
it actively shuts off the default mode network.
Whoa, really? Just by observing the thought, you hit mute on the narrator.
For a moment, yes. It causes that inner voice to just stop temporarily.
Okay, that sounds almost too simple for something so profound.
It feels that way, but that's the power of it. And that's the moment the aha happens. You suddenly realize, wait a second, the voice stopped, but I'm still here. I didn't go anywhere. To that voice, that's not actually me. It's an immediate experience of disidentification. That's the whole goal.
I love the analogy Mark and Christina use. The inner voice is like a bonfire.
Yeah, that's a great one.
A bonfire needs fuel and oxygen to rage,
Okay.
right? And the fuel for that inner voice bonfire is our belief that the voice is us.
Exactly. Our identification with it.
So when you practice moment mindfulness, when you just observe the thought instead of believing it and fueling it, you cut off its oxygen
You starve it of the belief it needs.
and it quiets down. Maybe the embers glow for a bit, but that roaring fire stops.
Precisely. And the results they see with this are honestly pretty remarkable. They're rapid and profound.
How rapid?
Well, they say disidentification often happens really quickly. For about half the people, it's like a sudden light bulb moment. They just get it instantly.
Wow. And the other half?
For the others, it might take a few days of practice, not weeks, not months, days. It's incredibly swift compared to many other approaches.
That's amazing. And once that disidentification happens, once you know you're not the voice, what changes?
It's incredible. Mark reports that thought-related emotional and psychological issues, things like anxiety, rumination, negative self-talk, they either just go away or they become vastly more accessible to therapy or self-help because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're just dealing with thoughts.
That makes sense. You're not tangled up in it in the same way.
Exactly. Kristina Black talks about her own experience, how her brain just got so much quieter after she learned this, and she realized the voice she'd been listening to, taking directions from, it had the emotional maturity of like a 5-year-old.
Wow. Realizing you're taking life advice from a kindergartner inside your head.
Right. She saw how much power she'd been giving away by simply believing it was her.
And Mark shared a story, too, about a client.
Yeah, a client who'd struggled with anxiety for years, tried lots of therapy, nothing quite clicked. But once she grasped this concept that the anxiety was linked to her thinking and that she wasn't her thoughts and started moment mindfulness, bam, she immediately saw the connection.
It just highlights how empowering it is to understand this isn't a personal flaw. It's this biological, mechanical thing happening, and you actually have a way to engage with it differently.
Absolutely. It really offers a path to freedom from so much emotional struggle, letting you reclaim control from that narrator you just mistakenly gave authority to for so long.
It really is a game changer.
So just to quickly recap our deep dive today, we started way back with egocentric speech in kids.
Right, talking out loud.
Which then, through normal brain development, turns into that inner voice, the narrator we tend to identify with. But because our true observer self, that meta-awareness and the DLPFC develops much later.
Like 25 or 30.
Yeah, we spend decades basically believing that narrator is us, which leads to feeling kind of addicted to or controlled by our thoughts.
But the fantastic news, the liberating insight from Mark Waller and Kristina Black is that you can break free. With practices like moment mindfulness or thoughting, you learn to observe that voice, realize you are not it, and disidentify.
Exactly. It's a biological process, not your fault, and there's a way to navigate it.
And this whole deep dive was inspired directly by the incredible work on the Mastering Thought YouTube channel, founded by Mark and Kristina. We really, really encourage you, go find the channel, watch more of their videos. Seriously, they have tons of great resources there.
Yeah, lots of short, helpful explanations.
Definitely. Like your videos if you find them helpful, and subscribe to Mastering Thought to keep learning how to understand and rewire your own brain. Maybe even share a video with a friend you think might benefit.
And for anyone listening who wants to go deeper, maybe get some direct help, really establish these practices in their own life, Mark and Christina also run that online community called Thought Masters.
Right. We should mention that.
Yeah, the link to join is in the description below this deep dive. They also mentioned Vanessa Marino. She's the community manager, runs great discussions there, apparently. It sounds like a fantastic place for more support.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If that voice in your head, that narrator, has dominated your sense of self for potentially decades, just imagine what incredible new possibilities might open up for you when you learn to just observe it, quiet it down, and reclaim control over your own awareness.
What becomes possible then?
It's definitely something worth pondering.